It is the year 2472, and the Earth has suffered a great calamity. Hundreds of years of popular culture have vanished. Without the sacred films and texts for guidance, civilization is devoid of anything cool. Then, 3 incubation chambers are unearthed, and from within, men from the time of the great blockbusters emerge. Now, through highly interesting conversations, they share invaluable insight about what once was. The movies, the shows, the comics, toys, and books. This is
The Hyperspace.
Podcasting in the 25th century.
Welcome in, podcast pioneers, to the Hyperspace. Podcasting in the 25th century, the interweb's first and still only podcast. My name's Matt.
I'm Jared.
Mike.
Every week now, this is awesome. I'm curious how Mike's going to bring it in.
So, it's funny. I sent a meme today on our chain. The Emperor at McDonald's. It was pretty funny, I thought.
It was funny, and it was appropriate.
And the Emperor's sitting there with his manager name tag on. And I want to read it exact here. It was pretty funny.
His manager name tag.
It's also one of the great lines from Jedi as well.
So he says, "Oh, I'm afraid the ice cream machine will be quite inoperable when your friends arrive." Which is absolutely true. I mean, thinking back to the 21st century, and of course the 20th century when we were kids, how many times you go to McDonald's? Just you want that milkshake or McFlurry or ice cream, and
I want to say right now,
never works.
In particular, like it's just the worker quality has like dipped significantly. I mean, I don't know who they're hiring. I think they're people that just kind of like wander in and they just kind of put a McDonald's hat on them and stick them in the kitchen.
You think that's affecting McFlurry production?
But it's just like, it's just these fast food restaurants were never like a bastion of high quality employment.
Well, as you
Mike,
yourself
weren't you
knows.
there at Burger King, right?
I was. That's where I started. But we cared in my day, damn it.
You cared enough to put knives and wipe them on your dirty pants and get blood everywhere. One of the best stories on the Hyperspace. You guys must go listen to this. It's an early episode, but it's unbelievable.
And 100% true.
But how true is that every time you go to McDonald's these days, the shake machine's just not working? It's like it's never working.
Well, it was funny that Matt sent that because this Saturday we were doing movie night. So I asked, the boys, do you all want a McFlurry? And they're like, yeah, that'd be great. So I pick up my phone and on my handy dandy McDonald's app, which I use all the time because I'm addicted to Egg McMuffins, I ordered my McFlurries.
Yet you're still very skinny.
Well, there's only 300 calories in an Egg McMuffin, Jared.
That's true.
So, so I get there. It's like 8 o'clock. So I said, well, it's past dinner, so I should be okay. So I pull, and I already see this massive line. Now, I think I could go in and get it, or I could just sit here in my car and listen to my music and wait. So I don't know if they're doing this down there, but they're doing this new thing up here where when they're really busy, they make cars sit at the speaker before they take their order. Have you seen this?
Well, they just don't talk to you.
I mean, they won't acknowledge that you're there.
Well, what they'll do is like a person will take their order and then the person will pull around and then they'll either like, hold on a sec, or they won't say anything. And they'll just let that car sit there until they're ready until the next car is cleared or something. But then they'll take that order, let that car pull around and make the next car sit there, which is insane because you're just backing the line up when you could just be taking the order and simultaneously making more than one order. So it's basically like they're making one order at a time.
Okay.
So
I don't think I've seen that up here, but I'll grant you, a little diversity.
Taco Bell was the first one I saw do it. Then it seems like it's like I guess they're talking to each other. Like, hey, we got this great strategy. You got to try it out sometime. So there's like 2 cars ahead of me. I noticed I had my windows up and my music going, but I noticed like there seems to be like this exchange going on. So
And you've committed. You're waiting.
yeah,
in the
that's
line.
it, man.
You're there.
I'm done. I'm doing it. Okay. You know how headstrong I can get about things. This is one of those instances. So I roll my window down, and some guy from Ohio is screaming at the lady at McDonald's, but the lady at McDonald's is screaming back. So they're screaming at each other, and he's like, "I'm not done yet." And I hear her go, "Oh my gosh!" And he's like, "Well, I can't understand you." She's like, "I can't understand you either." And so he is basically. So I'm like, "Well, this is amazing." So finally gets his order. He pulls around. I finally get up to the speaker and I say, I got a mobile order. Okay, hold on. All right, pull around. So I pull and I have to wait a little bit more time. Pull up to the window and the window opens and I could just see it on the kid's face when he said it. Because I could tell he just did not want to say what he had to say. And he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, our ice cream machine just went down." And I'm like, you gotta be joking.
Of course it did.
All this time I'm sitting in line. And then the manager is on the register and you could tell she's just, she's having a bad night because she's pushing the buttons on the screen really hard and she's just got this look of pure frustration on her face. And I hear her go, "I've already given him his money back." So I'm like, I look at him and I do this where I just stare at him for a second. I go, "So, okay." And then I pull away, go to cookout, and within 5 minutes I had 3 shakes.
Man.
That's one thing I'm going to grant Chick-fil-A some credit. They put all their the order takers out in the trenches, out in the parking lot.
They're exposed.
So you hear about it way before you get to the line, but I've never heard of their stuff ever going down. And they actually
they have it like a military operation there.
Well, they've like rebuilt all the Chick-fil-A's up here they've knocked them down and rebuilt them to have bigger drive-thrus.
I think McDonald's needs to do a little corporate espionage to figure out how Chick-fil-A can always have their shake machine working.
Well, I tell you what they need to get rid of, man, is the stupid 2-lane drive-thrus where everybody is trying to jockey for position after they make their order. And I'm surprised there's not 800 wrecks a day at those things. Because, it makes no sense. I can't see how they're possibly saving any time by having just people start to pile up in a big mass. But I had a similar story with my app today. I went to, usually on Mondays, my daughter gets to eat junk because, it helps make Mondays better. And so I went to McDonald's, I was getting the food, and I do it on the app like Mike, and I get in the line, I tell them my code, and then, so if you do it on the app, there's no currency exchanged. They just hand you a receipt. So I get up, I go through the pay window and get up to the food window, and the guy says, "Hey man, so I can't make that McFlurry because the machine's not working." I said, "Okay." He goes, "Yeah, you're just going to have to email the app people to get your money back."
What?
Oh,
Really?
no.
And I was like, "Well, that's fantastic."
I get an email.
So I
need to check and make sure I got my refund then.
Yeah, those apps are squirrely. Sometimes they've charged me twice on those apps. I don't fully trust them, but
I haven't had any issues, but once.
Except once.
Yeah, they said it didn't go through. And
Okay.
And the guy was like mad at me. It didn't go through. I'm like, well, okay, it's not my fault.
Well, I told you I was going to tell you an experience I had. It kind of has to do with this app, the app crazy culture of the early 21st century. So
it's a new technology.
So right now, as it's measured in the old calendar in the 21st century, I'm redoing my movie room. And I'm putting new posters up. For years, I had the 6 Star Wars posters up, all the Drew Struzan posters. But it's time for a change. So I'm getting new posters, and I need more poster frames. So I need the big ones, the big one-sheet 27 by 40 movie poster frames. And Walmart had what I was looking for. And they were I needed 3 of them, so they're about $23 a piece. So I placed an order on the app for the curbside pickup. I'm like, okay, I've done that once before. It's kind of a hassle, but it works. And that way I know that the Walmart will have it when I go. So it says your order will be ready by 6 p.m. I'm like, okay. So 6 p.m. comes and goes. I don't hear anything. And then Terry sends me off to buy a couple of groceries. I was like, well, okay, well, I'll just go down to Walmart and maybe the stuff will be ready. So I go and get the groceries, and they still haven't sent me a notification that it's ready. And by this time, it's like 7:30 at night. They said it'd be ready by 6. So I go up to customer service, and I show them the order, and I was like, hey, I'm just checking on this. And the rudest woman I've ever encountered, even in a Walmart. She's like, well, that's not me. You got to go over there to that kiosk. I was like, okay. She goes, well, yeah, if you just pick your way around all the junk. Because apparently this is where the online orders are all stacked up. And she points me to a phone. I have to go and call a number.
Oh, I've done that. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
And so I go there. The number I dial goes to voicemail, and the voicemail box is full. So I walk back to this woman and say, she's like, well, what's wrong? I was like, well, I called your number. The number went to voicemail, and the voicemail box is full. Well, that doesn't surprise me. Well, that's great. I said, so what do I do here? She goes, hang on, let me call somebody. So she called somebody. I sat there at that stupid desk at the end of the desk for 10 minutes, and I was like, F this. I'm going to go grab those damn posters off of the shelf and bring them up here. Because, I mean, on the app, boom, it's already paid for. So I go, pick up the 3 posters, and she's like, what do you got there? I was like, I got my online order. I just went and got it. And she's like, oh, okay. I said, so do you need to cancel this? And I'll just pay you for these? And she's like, well, no, you paid for it on the app. Okay, so I just walk out of here with these? She goes, yeah. And even the guy, they have people now at Walmart who stop. Some of them times will stop you on your way out to check your. So he looked at my phone. He's like, oh, okay, you paid for him. So I brought him home. And then the next day, hey, your order's ready. So I called the customer service, which was another freaking giant waste of time, and said, hey, I need to let you know that I'm not going to be picking these up. I said, I pick them up myself, but I said, I don't want you guys holding these or making any trouble. And they're like, oh, we'll just cancel the order. And I said, well, if you don't cancel the order, because, I mean, that's how I paid for these things. And they're like, oh, okay, well, I'll let them know, and you'll be it's all good. I was like, okay. So they canceled the whole order.
Which means you got the refund.
Which means, yes.
You got it for free.
That I got $65 worth of posters. And I'm thinking about it, and I'm feeling sort of bad, and I'm, of course, acknowledging it on a podcast.
Dude, I would say at this point, you did everything within your power, and to go back and try to straighten this out would be
a nightmare. So
I think you have found the chink in the Walmart armor.
Yeah.
Anything you need, just place it in.
Place
pick it up on
place
the shelf,
an order
like,
and go,
this?
Hey, look, I picked this up. I'm leaving.
Generators, car batteries, whatever you need.
At this point, it was so, I don't know, but I did check my card, and they refunded the whole order back. So I don't know what they're doing over there, but hey, apps.
You can't blame the app. It's the app.
It's the app.
My brother had a great experience with the Sonic app a few years ago.
Sonic?
Yeah, he ordered food over.
There are enough Sonics to have an app.
Let me just say this. The police ended up getting involved.
What happened to your brother? Just make this brief, but I have to know.
I hope he doesn't get mad at me telling this story. I mean, it's not his fault.
Wait, for the listeners who might not know what Sonic is, because it might not be in their area, what is Sonic?
It's a drive-through fast food joint.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my brother orders.
No, it's not a drive-through. It's a drive-up.
It's a drive-in. It's like
drive-in. That's right.
It's like they had in the 50s.
You stay in your car. There's no dining room.
Right.
So he orders on the app, and he either ordered on the app or on. I think he did use the app. This is a few years ago. So he goes to pick up his order, and they just don't have it. And he's like, "Well, I paid for it." And they go, "Well, we don't have it." He goes, "Yeah, but I've paid for this. I want my food." And this lady just started getting real attitude-y with him and eventually called the police. And the police show up, and Matt's like, I just want my food. And she's like, he's giving me trouble and blah, blah, blah. So he left without any.
Man.
Wow.
So
apps are wacky, man.
They
You
are.
know what? Last app store, like everyone loves Starbucks. My wife is addicted to Starbucks. And I remember in Tampa, do either of you use a Starbucks app?
No.
I don't go to Starbucks.
Well, just like any other app, I'm sure, it will let you know when you're near one of the locations. But if you're not, you can choose your location that you can go pick up at.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember driving one time, and there was this huge order. She wanted a whole bunch of stuff for herself, her sister, her mom, and it was like $900 for 2 drinks. And so I order all this stuff, and so I go to pick it up. And I walk into the pickup area, and I'm like, I don't see my name. So I'm like, excuse me, do you have an order from under this, Matt? And they're like, nope. I'm like, well, you do. I said,
You do.
I said, I spent a lot of money. I said, you have it here. And they're like, well, we don't have it. So I hold my phone up. I'm like, this is the order. And they're like, well, that order's for like North Tampa.
Oh,
where I had like been driving past,
you didn't pay attention to what you were doing.
Well, I did, but you know what? As I was driving by, it found one closer. It latched, and they're like, oh, damn it.
No.
So of course I go back in the car, and we're like right by the house, and she's like, so where's the food? I'm like, it's in North Tampa. So she's like, what do you mean? So you had to go through the whole explanation. Needless to say, she went without Starbucks that day.
Did you get a refund?
I did not. I didn't even bother.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you just left it.
So speaking of fast food work, we all know that Mike worked at McDonald's and Burger King. Jared, did you work? You worked at a Dairy Queen, right?
Yeah, that was my first job, actually, Dairy Queen.
Yeah, I'll make a quick story out of this. I worked when I was in Tallahassee in college. I was like 18 or 19. I worked so many different jobs when I was in college. But one of my first ones, I wanted to go and get some money to go to like an away game for Florida State with like a bunch of my friends. And so a buddy of mine's like, well, my girlfriend is the manager at this place in downtown. It's like a cafe. And she could probably get you a job. And a little long story short on this one, his girlfriend would hit on me every party when this guy wasn't around. So I was like, well, maybe I'll talk to her. So he talks to her for me, and I get a job at this place. Food, Glorious Food, it was called.
That was was it a restaurant?
So what it was, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So in Tallahassee, Florida, the capital of Florida, this was they have the state senate there. And this was one of the state senator's wives' pet projects. All right, so it had like a little outdoor cafe or like seating area, and inside it was kind of like a walk up order from the what am I trying to think of, like the coolers in front of you there,
Sure.
And it was all gourmet stuff, but it was disgusting because like it was all fancy with spanakopita and gazpacho soup and all this stuff, but
Gestapo soup.
Yes, Gestapo soup. But what nobody realized were like these coolers that displayed all the food were like they didn't seal. So like people would be walking up and I'd have to like quickly like take the spanakopita and roll it over so it'd hide the flies. It was a disaster waiting to happen. And chalk this up so it's really busy because it has a lot of connections. Everyone wants to come here for lunch from like the state capitol building. So it's really rocking and rolling. And I'm doing my best to try and hide the disasters of which the food is. And I'm not enjoying my job there. And the whole time I have my manager, who is my buddy's girlfriend, hitting on me the entire time. So this is a horrible stress situation. So one day, I didn't work there long, maybe a month. So I'm making some soup and a sandwich and whatever. And I didn't realize I had taken a big scoop of the spanakopita, which is a Greek spinach souffle thing. And, man, it had so many flies in it. And I put it right on a plate. I didn't even notice it. And listen, which is worse, knowing the flies are there or not knowing the flies are there? I mean, I guess, ignorance is bliss when it comes to your food. And I put it up on the counter before I even looked at it because I just kind of looked down to charge them. So I had the plate ready.
Oh, no.
And I got so chewed out. And she came over and
they caught it. They caught you doing that.
It wasn't. I literally served them a piece of food full of flies that had dead flies all over.
Oh,
yeah. And because I was told specifically, hide the flies.
Oh, when that's like the part of training, that's something they need to address.
And it's like but I didn't care. I was young, but I got fired on the spot and happily left with, enough money to go to an away game, which is all I really ever wanted in the first place. But,
so it was win-win.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So that was my only venture into the food industry.
Good grief.
I worked at, like as you mentioned, I worked at McDonald's, I worked at Burger King for years. And they always put me on drive-thru, and I hated doing drive-thru, but they always put me on drive-thru. And one night this driver comes through and I hear, I would like a Big Mac, a large fry, Diet Coke. So I go, that'll be $5.29. Please drive around. So you can see how this story ends.
Oh no!
The guy pulls around.
What are you talking about?
He's got a voice box. I just instantly I just opened the window and went, oh, that'll be 5.25.
Did you think somebody was messing with you?
Yes, I thought they had a box and was screwing around with me.
Why? Well, just give me my food, you jerk.
But he had the full, he had the covering on his neck and everything. Oh. There was no.
So Mike clocked out that night at Burger King and then went straight to hell. And
wow, man.
I guess I can follow that up with why I got fired at Burger King.
Why'd you get fired?
Sure.
Have I told? I don't know if I've told this story before. I hate to repeat myself.
Oh, I think I know.
I used to,
but no, it's okay. You told this story 2 years ago. So
they had those little Mooney dolls that people used to stick on their windows.
Yes.
And it had the little air compressor thing. So when you drove next to cars, the little dude would pull his pants down and moon people.
Oh, sure, right.
So we were working overnight one night, and somebody had one in their car. And I don't know who said it, but somebody was like, hey, why don't we put that on the drive-thru window? So we did.
And
would the owner come on?
No, first guy came through, thought it was funny.
Okay.
And he was he actually wanted to buy it. So we're like,
I
okay.
buy that Mooney doll there? You selling them?
So then another guy comes through. So
this is funny stuff. I mean, come on.
The plan was I would take the order as normal, and there would be a person under the window mooning the person that was pulled up to the window.
Sure.
Perfect plan. What could go wrong? Well, the problem is the guy comes around, and I can tell immediately he does not think it's funny, at all. And I'm sitting there trying to take his order, and the Mooney is still going. And the guy is underneath, beside me, laughing, pushing the air compressor. And I'm trying to figure out a way to start kicking him. He doesn't think it's funny. Stop. So, anyway, so he leaves, and then about 30 minutes later, our manager walks up, and she's like, what's going on up here? And we're like, what? She goes, some guy just called and was complaining. And apparently he said that if his wife had been with him, he would have pulled me through the window and like kicked my ass.
For the doll? The movie doll? What? Oh, come on.
Those aren't, oh man. Those
So,
things weren't really anatomically correct, were they?
No, he was just a fuddy dud. Anyway, so that, that ended my tenure at Burger King.
Oh, man.
This is a drive-through story, and it involves my dear departed Grandpa Tockstein. My Grandpa Tockstein, he was not easy to understand in the last years of his life. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Napoleon Dynamite. I think you have.
Oh, the guy with the...
He talked like that farmer from...
Show Shawnee Arrowhead.
Yeah, he goes, Show Shawnee Arrowhead.
Over there, that creek, man, I found a couple of shows on the Arrowhead.
That's my Grandpa Tockstein. Okay,
That's great.
So he goes to McDonald's one day when we were there visiting, and he comes home with like $80 worth of McDonald's. And my grandma's like, my grandma's like, what is this? What? She goes, there's one of everything on the menu. And so we found out, as Grandpa explained it, he goes, well, they couldn't understand me, so they just gave me one of everything.
Did they charge him for everything?
Yeah, yes.
Oh,
and God bless him, my grandpa, he just paid it. But I can only imagine him pulling up to a drive-thru and just them being like, so anyway, rest in peace.
This is the world of the 25th century. Only a handful of scientists remain, men who have vowed to rebuild what has been destroyed. This is their achievement.
We don't have any of these problems with fast food or apps in the 25th century, as everything is just beamed to our brains, and we've got the feeding tubes with our nutrient paste. So we're kind of nostalgic for the old days of bad customer service and, people mooning us in the drive-thrus and being mocked for having throat cancer.
Oh, God. Special place for Mike.
Anyway, we hope you enjoyed this kind of short episode. We have some good ideas for episodes coming up because we still have a few weeks left to go in Season 6. We're going to be with you through most of April, and then May, the Kenobi Chronicles begin, so we'll be taking a break to talk about Kenobi. But until then, we'd like you to come back next week and hear more tales from the 25th century. This is the Hyperspace, and thanks for joining us.
Or the ultimate irony, guy with a voice box pulling up to the drive-thru window at McDonald's. That has to suck, huh? Can I help you? Big Mac and a large order of fries. Stop making fun of me. I'm not making fun of you. I'm getting the manager. Get the manager. I don't care.
You know you can't live without this content, so subscribe to the Hyperspace Podcasting in the 25th Century. Follow us on social media, leave us a review, and join us next time as we take you into the 25th century.